Hi, it's Alanna Handelman, Head of Commerce in Canada Mid-Market at Snapchat, and you're listening to the CPG Guys podcast.
Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the CPG Guys. I'm, of course, Shri, your co-host and co-founder of CRO of Think Blue Consulting, your partner to growth. Whether retail, media, omnichannel, or back to basics in store, we are here for you. Get in touch with me at Shri at thinkblueconsulting.co. That's again Shri at thinkblueconsulting.co, not C-O-M. Not joining me today is my co-founder of the CPG Guys, Mr. Peter V.S. Bond. And why he's not? He's actually with his daughter and family out in Paris at Disneyland. And when he's not podcasting, he leads the client engagement at Flywheel, the commerce accelerated division of Omnicom. Please do listen to my older daughter, Ria Raj's music, www.riaraj.com, R-H-A-R-H-A, and Lara Raj, my younger daughter, as a member of the Geffen Records group Cat's Eye, who, of course, are another worldwide super hit, Gnarly. They just launched their album just yesterday, Beautiful Chaos, the new one. And you can catch up with all of that, whether it's on YouTube or any of the streaming media platforms. Before we get to our guests, we want to ask you to consider following us in your preferred podcast listening app if you already don't do so. And of course, now let's get to our guest. Alanna Handelman is head of U.S. Commerce in Canada Mid-Market Sales at Snap Inc. The parent company is Snapchat. She leads an impactful team focused on developing Snap's mid-sized customer base in North America. In the 8+ years at Snap, Alanna has participated in almost every iteration of growth at the company, from overseeing the brand launch in Canada, which is awesome, to the ad product evolution and many initiatives in between. Her impact has aided advertisers in media diversification, connecting them to a happy and engaged community only found on Snapchat. Prior to Snap, Alanna built a deep understanding of digital and social media marketing at MasterCard. She was named to Marketing Magazine's 30 Under 30 list in 2016, one that I never made much mark on. And the Peak's Emerging Leader list in 2025 make that too that I didn't make my mark on. Alanna is based in Toronto, Canada, where she and her husband raised 2 kids under 6. Fun phase of life. Join us in welcoming Alanna Handelman, head of U.S. Commerce and Canada Mid-Market Sales at Snap, to the show. Alanna, welcome to the CPG Guys. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today. I maybe would rather be in Disneyland in Paris, but this is a excellent alternative.
Wait. You're saying you'd rather be in Disneyland than Paris than be with the CPG Guys?
I mean, my 6-year-old would want me to say yes, so I'm gonna defer to her right now.
You know what, Alanna, you're in the fun phase of life when the kids are both below 6.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
You have to deposit time with them now because mine at 25 and 21 is in Paris this week at Paris Fashion Week. And the other one is actually recording videos for the new album launch, Beautiful Chaos, as part of Cat's Eye. If I get 5 minutes with them in a day or a week, I count it as a blessing. So I'm waiting for our vacation next week as we head to the Caribbean. But yeah, for sure, Alanna, fun phase of life. Make the most of it with the children. Of course, in the digital liner notes of this episode, we'll include links to your LinkedIn profile and your company's corporate websites for our listeners to access while we go on with the conversation, because that's what people do. Everybody accesses stuff on the go. So ready, Alanna? Here we go. This is a fun episode for me because we're going to do some Gen Z talk right up front. And so marketers that still think of Snapchat, I hear it again and again and again from people, and it's so annoying when they say, Snapchat is just for Gen Z. My mom uses Snapchat and she ain't Gen Z. So what do you say to marketers who still say and think of Snapchat is just for Gen Z? Tell us about the audience proposition.
Yeah. And thank you so much for kicking off with that and also sharing that anecdote about your mom. I know my father and my mother-in-law are also both very active daily Snapchatters. They are very, very involved in our group chat. And that's why I'm so happy to dig into our audience first.
They found it's the best way to stay in touch with their grandkids. Simple.
It is. And we're going to dive into that. I think how I really want to leave you and your listeners with an understanding of our audience is by focusing on a couple of different areas. We'll dig into the audience and the demographics first, go into connectivity, and then also talk a bit about spending power, which I think is a missing area of a lot of marketers when they start to think about who's on Snap. So to kick it off, Snapchat reaches 900 million monthly active users. About 80% of those 900 million are over the age of 18, and 1 in 4 Snapchatters are 35 plus. I know that was a lot of numbers. So 900 million monthly active, 80% are 18 plus, and then 1 in 4 are 35 plus.
So one in four are actually 35 plus. So if I did the mental math there, that's over 225 million, give or take.
Yeah. And I think that's usually the part where I start to see our partners and even just friends that I'm talking to's eyebrows kind of go up, because they do really, as you said, think about it as just teenagers or Gen Z as a whole. They don't really consider how our audience has really grown up with the platform. Snapchat is entering its 14th year. And what we've seen is that Snapchatters continue to come to the app because of this idea around connectivity. We've always referred to the platform as a close friends or a best friends network, right? It's where our community is coming to talk to those that matter most to them. It could be their best friends. It could be their grandkids, as you mentioned about your mom. But this is really a place where you come to talk to those who matter most to you. And that real core use case around connectivity is what keeps our audience so sticky. It actually has them growing up with our platform. So Snapchatters who actually joined the app while they were in high school or college are now getting married, having kids, buying houses. They're in this very different phase of life because they've really evolved as our platform has grown up. And it's that kind of stickiness that has also helped them bring their friends along for the ride and has contributed so much to the growth that we're seeing on the platform. And as this kind of phase of life goes, it's also the spending power, right? We have 2.2 trillion in spending power with the Snapchat generation in the US alone. So I think that's important to know, is that they've aged up and they have money to spend to buy all of the amazing products out in the market.
Those are big numbers. 2.2 trillion, 2.2 plus trillion is a big number to work with. And so how's the march to the big B going, the 1 billion from 900 million?
It is, we are definitely progressing there, and that is very much our goal. In our recent earnings, we shared that we have gone from 850 million monthly active users to 900 million monthly active users. So we're definitely seeing that continued growth of the platform. And again, a big piece of that is the retention and real stickiness of that connectivity factor, which also helps bring in everyone's new friends, because Snapchat is definitely more fun when you're talking to those who matter most to you.
So if you're talking those sort of numbers with a spending power of over $2 trillion, I think 2.2 is where we landed, somewhere in that vicinity, surely it can drive awareness and conversion for CPG brands, right? So there are large brands and then there are mid-tier brands, right? I'd like to start first with how can mid-tier brands leverage that spending power by anchoring on y'all for that awareness and for consideration?
It's a great question. And this is an area where my team and I love to really dig into how to do this with all of our brand partners. When it comes to Snap, we have focused really thoughtfully on building out a self-serve ads platform that allows brands of all sizes to come on and find success across the funnel. Every brand is going to be in a bit of a different evolution or focus area in terms of what they're trying to drive. And what we find, particularly within the CPG space, is that many of our partners are focused on full funnel growth. So they're going to be driving those awareness campaigns to really help shift and shape hearts and minds to draw awareness for the products, as well as create consideration and preference for them. And then we see those same advertisers really help take that audience down funnel to really help contribute to that bottom line sales goal and really be able to elicit that purchase either from a D2C.com environment or drive to retailers' websites or in-store experiences and be able to measure it through that tech stack, focusing really heavily on owned and operated as well as third-party integrations that really help boost signals.
Basically, you can drive anywhere, D2C as well as a retailer.com, to the product. That's what it is. Is there a difference between the awareness and conversion? What I'm hearing here is full funnel marketing. Is there a difference between a mid-tier or large brand, or is the offering the same?
The offerings for both are the same. So everyone has access to the exact same product suite at Snap. And all of our customers also have access to support and white glove service from all of our reps. We've really structured ourselves to be able to serve our CPG and brand partners across all verticals of all sizes. So whether you are a large brand, mid-tier brand, or maybe a newer emerging brand, you can always find that support on Snap to really help guide you beyond what you just see within our ads platform. So you have access to the same tools, you have access to the same support, and we really work with you to help tap into what are the products and solutions that are going to help meet that goal that you have and really help show success by however you are demarking that success on any platform.
And Alanna, to that point, are there particular categories which are better suited for this form of full funnel marketing, or is it endemic, non-endemic? Is it apparel? Is it fragrance? In your mind, are there specific categories that would benefit the most if you're a mid-tier brand?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I'm really proud of is that we have really seen our partners across all categories be able to drive growth from the platform. When you think again about the Snapchat generation, you think about the vast size of this audience and the engagement that they have, they're really hungry to find new experiences and be exposed to new things and really share those with their family and friends that they're talking to on the platform. So one of the biggest ways that brands have really been able to show up on Snap is to really focus on what I love to call thumb-stopping creative, right? Whether that is creator-based content, so video ads coming from creators, whether that is other forms of user-generated creative, whether it is polished ads, perhaps product shots that are created with a little bit more of a kind of focus and flair to drive that thumb-stopping nature. There's tons of ways to use your creative to actually help draw attention and then push our community further down the funnel based on however you've chosen to optimize your ad, whether that's to video views, purchases, lead generation, etc.
And so the way this would work is within the app itself, there's a possibility that you could also use digital creator ads.
Yes.
And do you see that often?
Yeah, something that we have really been leaning into and investing in heavily is our creator-based offerings. We have some alphas out right now, as well as some generally available tools that allow our brand partners to connect in with the vast creator network that exists within the Snapchat environment. And using our self-serve tools like Ads Manager, brands can go in and actually help work with creators who are able to then go and create that content on behalf of the brand and really create a different sort of awareness phase, which I think we've seen really proliferated across the social and digital space.
So I got an interesting budget question for you. The way shopper marketing is evolving these days is a lot of attention. The whole industry, I was at Caroline's last week. I'm guessing you were too, or the team was, at least because I met with them. The talk of the town, the talk of the industry is retail media. And budgets are all shifting towards that. Again, there's an argument in the industry, whether it's trade, whether it's media, but there's no doubt retail media is sucking up a lot of oxygen when it comes to media, period. Where does Snap fit within that retail media picture? What would be your advice to brands as well as agencies who actually create and place the ads for brands? Obviously, retail media today is mostly on-site. It's really search and banner ads, and steadily retailers are understanding the importance for off-site. Now, do you partner with retailers? How do you think of the entire retail media ecosystem? How do you justify that Snap should be part of those budgets? And do you partner with agencies?
That's a great question and lots to dig into there. I think to kick it off, it's nothing new that brands, especially within the CPG space, are often launching their direct-to-consumer experiences first and then taking more of that retail push or that retail deal. And what we've been focused on our side is really working closely with our partners to understand their goaling, their priorities, and what success really looks like to them in a D2C as well as within a retail environment. For more of those growth stage and emerging brands, this is, as we discussed, where we really see this kind of full funnel push. And that includes how we are actually putting together campaigns to drive thoughtful traffic and sales to both the D2C environment as well as to the retail space, and really helping to match and meet on those commitments that a lot of these brands have with their retail partners, but more importantly, be able to drive those results for them. So by using our tool suite that we have available, they're able to really figure out, what does my entire business look like? Where do I need to be able to support and drive the sales from? And you can use all of our tools to be able to support both your owned.com as well as that retail space.
Is there a message you have for agencies that actually are doing the buying of retail media, that why Snapchat should be part of that mix?
When it comes to why Snap should be part of the mix, it really goes down to what we talked about kind of first and foremost today, which is the audience. When it comes to Snapchatters, it's not just the scale that we have, but it's also the uniqueness of the audience. Snapchatters tend to be quite hard to find on other platforms. For example, in the US, amongst Snapchatters 16 to 64 years old, 40% of them cannot be found on TikTok on a daily basis. And what we've started to really see with our agency partners, as well as with our brand partners, is this real shift away from just operating on 1 to 2 primary channels to really opening up their investments and starting to look at how they have a presence across multiple different touch points to really show up where their audience and prospective audience is. And that's really that main message that we've been driving home with all of our partners, is to make sure they understand who is on Snap, how the Snapchat generation can really help contribute to their brand and business goals, and how they should be showing up on the platform in order to take advantage of that.
The other big word that floated around at Cannes Lions and has been in the industry last year and a half, in addition to retail media, is personalization, especially when it comes to ad. Now, I know individual personalized ads, while realistic, they're still unrealistic due to scale and cost until AI picks it up, which it appears that we're at the cusp of that. How does Snap think about personalization?
It's a great question. For my very first days at Snap, nearly 9 years ago, what I have seen our teams focus on really heavily is this degree of personalization. And what I'd say that really looks like in our world is making sure we are serving the right ad to the right person at the right time. And how a lot of that is really powered, of course, comes through signals. So looking at different tools, whether that's owned and operated signal elements like the Snap Pixel or Snap Conversions API, whether that's working through third-party integrations, for example, working with our Shopify app to really be able to bring your Shopify store to life on Snapchat and drive those direct results there. Whether it is working on building up your CRM list and really your direct-to-consumer communication standpoint, and using some of our connectivity points and partners like Intuit's MailChimp, like DataHash, LeadsBridge, and Zapier, which are some of the partnerships we have in place. We've really seen that by being able to enhance signal, you are able to drive those results that you're looking for to that right person at that right time in the right place. The Snap app has so many different components and surfaces within it, from chat to camera to content. And it's really that signal boosting that allows us to really find that right Snapchatter where they are and where they're likely to take the action that you're looking for them to take.
So keeping that as the backdrop, right? Snap is one of the various apps available in the marketplace today. There's a lot of social apps that generally consumers are browsing, spending time on, scrolling, etc. So I'd love for brands, a large part of our audience here is brands, to try and understand how you are uniquely positioned in that attention fragmented world to be the one that actually is an authority on attention overall. So one way we can do that is explain to us the various products you offer. The word inventory comes to mind, ad inventory, if it makes sense at all. So what can brands and agencies think of in terms of inventory, and tell them why you're uniquely qualified in that attention fragmented world to actually capture the attention?
I think this is one of the most exciting things I want to talk about today. Obviously, our audience was so exciting to me, but our ad products are almost even more so. When I think about our ad products, there's 3 main areas I want to focus with you on. First is content, then camera, and then our new inventory units. That word definitely resonates, but our new inventory units like sponsored snaps. If we start off with content, this is very much, let's use a bit of a CPG pun, but let's use bread and butter in this scenario. But they're very much kind of the bread and butter of what every brand is going to be activating on Snap. Snap offers vertical video ads across all of our content placements on the app. These are great ways, again, to create those thumb-stopping opportunities and really be able to use the various back-end tools that we have to create this high degree of personalization to make sure we are showing that right ad to the right person at that right time. And with our content ads, you're able to really use them to hit a variety of different goals. You can use them for anything top of funnel, like impressions or video views. You can bring them into mid funnel for pixel page views and landing page views. And you can also bring them down funnel for things like app installs, as well as purchases. If we move into the camera is a place I'd say that's very ubiquitous to Snap. I think we're very well known for our augmented reality products, and that's really because they create such a fun and memorable experience for Snapchatters. We allow brands to enter into that camera space through augmented reality products. We have our pre-capture AR lenses and our post-capture AR filters. And these are great ways for brands who are really looking to drive more upper funnel goals to be able to engage Snapchatters within augmented reality experiences that really immerse them within either the brand or their product. They can help show off USPs or use cases for how to actually use that product in practice. And the last place, and I'm so excited about this one, is our newest inventory unit called Sponsored Snaps. Sponsored Snaps is a way for brands to be able to enter the chat. It allows them to show up just like a Snapchatter and actually be able to engage within this really unique space and be able to create these moments for Snapchatters to see that brand imagery and message in a different way. We've seen very quickly that this has actually become our highest reach takeover placement. So this is a fantastic way for brands to be able to get in there. Again, it's available to brands big and small. It's available throughout our auction as well as from a takeover perspective. So it's a really, really great way for brands who are looking to be on the forefront of innovation and do something differently when it comes to that personalization to show up as a Snapchatter would.
I want to understand that one a little bit better. So I'm assuming because it appears in a Snap, it's very contextual.
Mm-hmm. It's very contextual. That's where a lot of our AI investments in the background are really coming into play to make sure that we are showcasing the right message, again, to the right person at the right time, and making sure, particularly within the chat, that everything that's showing up there feels hyper relevant and personalized to the Snapchatter.
And these appear in individual chats?
They appear in individual chats, yes. Yes, so Snapchatters have the opportunity to opt in, as in they can actually choose to open up that Snap. They can see that full screen video creative, as well as get a personalized message from the brand to help take them further down funnel.
Awesome. So can the CPG guys expect these to pop up in their Snaps in the future?
You sure can.
We'll take a screen capture and send it to you, Alanna. Looking forward to that. A reminder to our audience that I'm speaking to Alanna Handelman, Head of U.S. Commerce and Canada Mid-Market Sales at Snap Inc. So now let's go over to the retail side and let's start talking data. Because one of the other struggles, I gotta say again, this has been around for a year or two now, is I spoke a little bit about retail media and trying to ask you the question about how you fit within that ecosystem. But there's a lot of frustration in the industry on measurement, frameworks, attribution, things of that nature, and justifying every dollar of media spend. Unfortunately, retail media is now buffered over into media spend, and a lot of questions just asked about the validity of media measurement frameworks that exist in this modern digital world today. So how are you partnering with retailers or other data providers to kind of help close the loop on attribution so you can indeed calculate sales lift or other metrics, if any? Can you explain what those are that brands and agencies can leverage?
Yeah, that's a great question, and an area that we have really been hyper fixated on with all of our partners for the past number of years. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that all of our brands coming to Snapchat are able to see really high ROI from the platform, but beyond just that high ROI, know how to actually measure that success. So a lot of this comes down to understanding with the partner, what is that demarcation of success for them? I think something that we've really experienced and witnessed over the past number of years is this shift in the industry from more kind of top of funnel, more vanity metrics like likes, shares, and comments into more impactful business driving metrics. And I think for Snap, that's actually really key and powerful because, as you may know, Snap was always built very differently from other social media platforms. While others really focused on this idea of kind of social visibility in the form of likes and followers and shares and comments, Snap really veered away from all of that. We were born at that dawn of social media, and we wanted to stay away from this idea of a popularity contest. But when it came to looking at Snap performance and measuring it in the same way they were measuring other platforms, I think that's where brands really had to take that thoughtful pause and start to think about how should they be looking at that success on Snap and how can we really drive for that. And as we kind of shift forward over the years, that main piece, as you mentioned, has been around how do we show that ROI and how do we really prove out that sales lift that Snap is driving. So the main way that we've been getting there with retail partners and other data partners is very much, again, on our favorite word, signals. Signals boost all the performance that we are seeing across the board. Whether you're looking to measure the incremental impact, whether you're looking to measure the straight sales impact within your backend CMS, whatever that looks like for you, it needs to rely on a strong signal quality to make sure that that data pass back in quality is there. So that's really been the number one thing we've been focused with our brand partners on, particularly in the CPG space, is making sure that all of the brand experiences and the sites that we're driving to have strong signals through the Pixel, through Cappy, if there's an app component through mobile measurement partners, and really just making sure that all of the bones are there so that all those proliferation points, which have very much so included, again, that GeoLift incrementality, as well as some other solutions that are meant to more so measure in-store sales through third-party partners are in place.
So is the measurement frameworks any different for large brands versus mid-tier brands, or is the offering the same for everybody? I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, good question. It is the same for everyone. What really changes and what our team likes to work with our partners on is just what is kind of that end outcome that we're looking for. A lot of our kind of more emergent CPG brands are a little bit more focused, I'd say, on D2C and more select retail partners, whereas some of the larger brands have a much broader retail network in place and look at something a little bit more customized or larger in order to measure that impact.
So I talked a little bit about the closed loop attribution, sales lift, etc., but measurement is going to remain a concern now until there's a common framework in the industry for measuring media, period, with retail media, social commerce, which you're a piece, you're now a part of. So is it fair to say Snap adds is social commerce at the end of the day?
Yeah, I definitely think we're playing within that space and have been for quite some time. I'd say that there continues to be new elements as to how Snap, as well as others in the space, really help dig in there. I'd say the creator component and really being able to leverage more of the kind of familiar faces to help drive some of that influence has been a key to kind of departure point or change that we've seen throughout the industry. But yeah, I'd say that's definitely where it's going.
You know, brand VPs, brand marketers, or CMOs are now talking to the CPG guys consistently about ROI being incrementality, iROAS, I anything, or new to brand. These are the two words that are consistently coming back, right? In your opinion, are those just misunderstood metrics, or what do you think is the most misunderstood metric in social commerce for CPG?
Good question.
Do these metrics even make sense, new to brand?
Incremental everything, as you said, add an I before, that's definitely happening. And I think it's happening for good reason. As we spoke about earlier, I think right now the biggest trend that we have seen is that a lot of our partners are looking to help diversify their investments away from just being concentrated on fewer amount of platforms and really looking into how can I make my impact with new partners, reach new audiences, and be able to drive those incremental sales that I wouldn't be able to get at that same rate on the current platforms that I'm advertising on. So I definitely think that is where the industry will continue to lean into quite heavily. But on the misunderstood front, I think that's where I'd go back to what I was sharing before around more of those vanity metrics. Again, from a kind of social perspective, those likes, those shares, those comments are such a place of focus for a lot of brands. And I completely understand why when it comes to how they're using different platforms and the metrics available there. But I think the biggest piece is when it comes to Snap and what is available and what we can actually use to draw impact from and showcase impact from on Snap. It goes beyond more of that top of funnel and really helps dive into what was the business outcome of it, not just the likes, but how did X, Y, and Z that you are doing on the platform actually drive the net sales or incremental sales that you're looking for.
There's a war going on right now between brands, aka CMOs, and CCOs, chief sales officers, chief customer officers. For the sales commercial function, it's always going to be about lower funnel conversion. Right? We've already defined that incremental something. Brands say any media that's played should be based on a brand objective. And the brand objective could be squarely upper funnel and have nothing to do with lower funnel. Although CPG guys here, we believe we live in a complete digital world. We live in a full funnel world. And any penny that should be spent should always be full funnel. I'd love to get your take on this concept of full funnel, upper funnel for brands. Should every campaign that's actually a partnership with Snap be a brand objective, or should it always result in lower funnel attribution?
That's a great question. I'd say as a whole, full funnel has a lot of benefits in terms of really being able to take consumers on a journey with you. Right now, we live in a world, and to steal your word, a very fragmented world in different ways. And part of that fragmentation just comes into how many products are available, right? And a big piece of actually being able to drive the sale is actually having awareness and consideration for that product that you are trying to drive the sale from. Oftentimes, a lot of dollars do get heavily concentrated on bottom of funnel. And it makes sense, right? Brands want to be able to show that instant impact, show how the campaign that they are running drove an immediate sale. And that is definitely doable. But for brands that don't necessarily have really heavy awareness or heavy awareness within specific demographics that the brand is now looking to go after, all of a sudden, these lower funnel ads have to do this double or triple duty of being able to drive awareness and drive consideration and drive the purchase all in one kind of wrapped in a bow 6-second ad. And so what I think a lot of our brand partners have been seeing, and what we've definitely been working with them on as well, is to really look at a full funnel perspective in order to help shape every piece of that funnel and really feed into it. Because if all of this is done well, it should all really act within this circle, and you should be able to drive from awareness to consideration to conversion and back and forth constantly. And that way you are not trying to do triple duty with one section of the funnel, but you're actually able to make that impact across the board and get your message across in different ways and create a little bit more of that memorability and brand loyalty as well, because you've made an impact in so many different ways. The way in which, again, our company is really focused on AI is to really help supercharge everything that we're doing in really thoughtful ways. I think one of the biggest categorizations of how Snap has always brought itself to market, either to our community of users as well as to our brand partners, is by really being thoughtful about our approaches. We use that thoughtful perspective while we're building out our product roadmaps and really help think through how can everything that we're doing add value to our communities and to our brand partners. And the way in which AI is being ingested throughout the company is very much done to help add that value.
That is great to hear. So let's close it out with a simple but very important question. Someone hears this podcast and says, I'm interested in learning more and I want to dig further into how this works. Who do they get in touch with? And then tell them about start to finish. How does the process work? How long does it take? How does one execute?
Yeah. Great questions. And please, everyone listening, let's get going on Snap. Let's not miss out on this. But when it comes to activating on Snap.
No, there's numbers that you gave is one I'll never forget, right? Like 2.2 trillion of spending power, buying power, approximately getting close to the magical B word in terms of users. Those are no joke. And people should pay attention. And more importantly, I also think of contextuality. In the world of CPG, we call it in a consumer's path to purchase. When a conversation is taking place and people are talking possibly about products, having a contextual ad, can it get any better?
Yeah. I mean, agree completely. Let's put you on an ad. But when all of your listeners,
The CPG Guys on Snap.
yes, literally. But when your listeners are ready for that, there's a couple of different ways to get started.
By the way, I also want to point out, Alanna, that contrary to popular belief, how product viewpoints are shared today is through dialogue. It could be ratings and reviews, which was yesterday's mechanism of, I would say, static sharing of opinions. The modern way of sharing is either text messages, messaging apps, things of that nature, or verbal, vocal to vocal. You happen to be in that realm of social sharing of opinions.
100%. And that's where that close friends network really, really comes into play, because Snap makes it so easy to communicate. And that is really that choice of where these conversations are happening, that all of the questions around which olive oil should I buy? Have you tried this shampoo? What are you doing about this chocolate bar? What are you sending your kid to camp with next week? All of those conversations are really happening on Snap. And that's where a lot of that influence is taking place. So by being contextually relevant and by having your brand show up where those conversations are happening, you have even more likelihood of now being part of that conversation and really helping to get more kind of rally and support, which will help, of course, drive that purchase as well.
I took you away from the original question, which was start to finish. How does this work?
Yeah. So start to finish, you're going to go.
Got a little excited there.
You're going to go to Ads Manager, ads.snapchat.com. You can link it in the show notes if you'd like to. But you're going to go to Ads Manager.
Of course, it'll be in the digital liner notes of this episode. So ads, say that again for our audience.
Ads.snapchat.com.
Awesome. It'll be there in the digital liner notes.
Yeah. And that is going to take you to our Ads Manager platform. Within about 10 minutes, you will be fully set up and ready to go for your Snap campaigns. Our platform has really been designed to help bring brands of all shapes and sizes through this onboarding flow in a really, really easy to follow way. So in about 10 minutes, you're going to be fully set up. You can use any of our third-party integrations that we spoke about earlier, like Shopify, to really help connect in your .com and your storefront and really be able to set up your campaigns for that success from the get-go. And when it comes to support as needed, we have really structured our teams to be able to support, again, brands from small to mid to large. So after actually signing up on Snap, you're able to get connected to an account manager who's really there to help work with you to crystallize out what are your goals and how can we use Snap to help reach them, and really be able to provide those thoughtful recommendations for how to only keep seeing improved performance on the platform.
So a couple of quick follow-ups on that piece. So that means it's self-service. Is that fair?
You got it. All self-service.
And is there a managed service option for those who are lazy?
For those who are lazy. So what I would say is we offer what I will call white glove service. So for any of our partners who need more support, I don't want to call it lazy, but we are all overloaded as marketers with 4 million things to do each and every day. So if anyone needs support with their campaigns, needs some help with optimizations, our team is there to help make those recommendations and really make sure activating on Snap is even easier than you think it is.
Awesome. And then what about the integration with retail in the self-service journey? If the ad needs to call to retail, that can be done on the app platform as well, on the ads platform, as you mentioned.
You got it. Everything is done through Ads Manager. Yeah.
Awesome. So Ads Manager is the key, knowing and understanding it. And do you all offer training on that?
We do. Yes. We have some self-serve guided courses where you can actually get some certifications. Feel free to share those on your LinkedIn or other professional.
How about that? LinkedIn badge. Hello.
Yeah, there you go. But we have those, as well as our account management team is here to help with any other questions that may come up.
Should the CPG guys get a certification on Snap Ads? What do you think?
Please. I expect to see it by end of weekend in my inbox.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So let me remind our listeners, you can find all of our content by simply going to a web browser and typing cpgguys.com as the URL. If you or someone you know has something to contribute to this ongoing discussion on the CPG Guys, just like Alanna did today, please do send us an email at contact@cpgguys.com. Again, that's contact@cpgguys.com. To our audience, thank you for the clicks, likes, comments, direct messages, meeting us at trade shows, coming to our events, recording episodes with us, as well as our sponsors. We are always grateful for you. The show doesn't exist without all of you. You work with us all year, and we're grateful to have you as our audience and partners. Thank you. Alanna, thank you for making time on a Friday afternoon. all the way up north from Canada to record this with me. Sincerely, thank you for joining the CPG Guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's a wrap of this episode. We'll see you soon on another episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.